welcome to episode 34 of Mythic Legendaries, podcast about Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone, brought to you by two old friends who love podcasts and the games we play. My name is Mock Sapphire.
My name is Rich G.
Hello, Rich G.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm great.
You are eating a tangerine.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's that song, the Tangerine song. If you give me the melody, I can sing the whole thing. I have it on my playlist.
Flies in the tangerine nuts.
Vaseline. She's Vaseline.
No, that's the other Vaseline song.
Tangerines. That sounds awesome.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's been a bit.
It's been a bit. It's a
We
beautiful
tricked
day.
everybody with our episodes last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were
Here we are.
recorded in the same day.
Yeah.
But we're back.
It was a marathon sesh.
Yeah.
And here we are.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
Felt
February 21st. February 21st.
February 21st.
We're almost getting out of winter. Getting closer and closer to spring.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're coming close to a year. Is that can't be true?
Not yet, but we're halfway.
We're halfway.
Oh.
Today's a beautiful day in the studio.
Yeah.
The sun is coming through perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Very comfortable because of the sunlight. The temperature is warm.
Warm,
There's-
homey feelings.
Yeah.
Smells good.
It smells good in here. We've got candles and incense going.
It's the perfect environment to talk about Hearthstone and Magic together.
Yes. When someone has a citrus on the plane,
The whole plane smells.
the whole plane smells like citrus, and it is the biggest blessing.
Yeah.
So if you want to, like,
Just squirt the
Comfort.
the orange, the oil when you squeeze it and it comes out of the skin, like it's like an air freshener.
what? I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, you just.
Oh
See
my
that?
god.
You never seen that?
Rich
Are
G.
you- See all that?
What?
Yeah.
Rich G is squeezing the skin of the tangerine, and I can see the mist
Yeah.
of citrus, the citrusy mist. It is like he's spraying.
With the air
Perfume.
freshener, yeah. Yeah, that's the oil. So when I was bartending in California, we would do a thing, and they still kind of do this at fancy cocktail bars. When you do like an old fashioned or something that's garnished with orange,
Uh-huh.
you squeeze you do exactly what I just did, and you light a lighter, and it because it's oil, so it's like flammable, and it'll do like it'll like do like a hot mist over it, and the whole thing will smell. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Pretty
awesome.
fancy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh man, I
Yeah,
love
so if
that.
you need to clear a room, like make a nice smell, like you're saying, just squeeze the orange peel. Any citrus peel will do that, and you'll get the essence of whatever fruit that is.
And then light it on fire.
Yeah, and then torch it.
Today, on the Hearthstone side of the table, there was a Hearthstone Summit. They're going to be talking about that, a lot of buzz around that.
Mhm.
Also going to be talking about my success on the ladder
Yeah.
this month. And also have a couple of cool stories. Life surprised me in a couple of interesting ways
That's cool.
that I'm excited to talk to you about.
Awesome.
And what are you going to be doing, talking about today? Can I try that?
Yeah. Ooh, boy, don't ever sniff it up your nose because it's it's very strong. We had the Magic World Championship 26 happened over this last weekend, so I am going to talk about the tournament. I was able to watch a bunch of it on Twitch, and then post tournament there were some replays and stuff that I watched, and it was interesting to see the variety, level of play, and how to play certain decks that are at that World Championship level. It was only like
Wow.
a 16-person tournament, and it was like this weird double elimination style brackets and stuff. So it was pretty interesting the way the tournament was laid out.
What was the format?
The format was standard constructed, but it
Okay.
was on Arena. So they did a draft portion
Oh,
in the beginning. So a paper draft portion. This was really interesting. They did a paper draft live in person, and then they transferred whatever the person drafted onto Arena, and then they played people on Arena. So that was really neat.
wow.
And then the second portion of it was standard constructed, and that was like the final part of it. So they had like a draft portion, your record showed you where you're going to be in the next portion, and then there's so
That's awesome.
that was really neat. And I'll just talk about kind of what happened there. I'm sure a lot of people already are over it by now because it's been almost a week, but
I'm not over it.
Yeah.
This is the first I'm hearing about it.
So it was a lot of fun. And yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Okay,
so that's
cool.
enough to cover there today.
Yeah. I almost want to skip my section, get to yours. That sounds really cool. So, jumping right in.
Jump on in.
I got my
Cannibal.
Diet Dr. P.
I got my Diet Coke with ginger lime.
And I have a full-blown diet soda addiction now,
Careful with that.
thanks to Mythic Legendaries.
Diet Dr. P.
But Rich G told me it's okay, as long as it's, a couple a week,
Yeah,
2 or 3 a
don't
week.
drink a case a day. Have one every once in a while.
So if I have to have it with me at all times, then I'm in trouble.
Exactly.
If I have 2 or 3 a week,
You're all right.
okay.
Space them out. Not 3 like back to back, but 3 like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Alright. It's okay to have a little thing
It
that,
is.
that
It
you
is.
enjoy.
It is.
Alright. And if you say it's okay, I believe you.
Yeah, because I'm the be all end all of everything.
Yes. Okay. Hearthstone had a summit,
Mm-hmm.
the Hearthstone 2020 Community Summit. I just want to apologize to Blizzard officially on the podcast. I wasn't able to make it. I'm so sorry because something must have happened in the mail. I did never receive the invitation. It may have been gone in my spam folder. Did you see anything in the Mythic Legendaries DMs or anything?
I didn't receive any invites. So.
I didn't see it either. So there may have been a misspelling on my email address or something, and I'm so sorry I didn't make it. But I'm happy to report about it. Hopefully next year we can just get that sorted out,
right
or
away.
the next expansion.
Make sure our flights are taken care of and stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So from Out of Cards, just gonna read this short article, and there's been a lot of buzz about this. So here we go. So this is from Flux Flasher, wrote this just about a couple days ago, and it's published on the Out of Cards website. Several Hearthstone community members were in attendance at the 2020 Community Summit, where they get a preview of what Blizzard is cooking up for the year and beyond. But they're not allowed to talk about it, so what's the fucking point? No.
They just give hints and stuff?
They tell them everything, but then tell them don't say anything.
Okay.
It seems
That's silly.
Silly, yeah. Frodan sent out a tweet today stating he was, quote, still in shock, unquote, after hearing what has been planned for this year. I can tell you that last year I was teased with the prospects of the best year of Hearthstone yet, and looking back on it, it was indeed an amazing year for Hearthstone. Mm-hmm. With knowing how invested Frodan has been into Hearthstone since its announcement, him feeling comfortable enough to tease the community as a whole today says something big. An announcement is coming, quote, soon, whatever that means. What do you want to see out of Hearthstone this year, and what do you think Blizzard will do with the game? Good question. Frodan says, still in shock after hearing what's planned for At Play Hearthstone 2020, the developers remain as passionate as ever. They haven't given up on the game, not even close. I don't even like how that's a suggestion.
Why would they say that? Yeah, that's a weird thing to say. It's like one of the biggest games ever. Why would they even say they give up? That's really weird.
Yeah, we're just giving up on the game. Fuck it. That's why we brought you all here.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? See you, nerds.
If they can execute, this will cement Hearthstone for the next decade.
How long is Hearthstone been a game? Do you know off the top of your head? I know I ask you things and sometimes it takes a minute. When did it come out?
5 years about.
Okay. So it's not old.
Right.
It's not an old game.
No,
okay.
It's not that old. For new returning and veteran players for the next decade, that's how good these changes are. When do us normals get to find out? Pretty soon. They didn't have everything 100% prepared, so obviously it's not ready for the public to see. But they gave us a rough timeline of what's happening. I don't want to get in trouble and promise a date on their behalf, but the closest thing will be very soon.
March 11th, 2014.
Oh.
It's coming up on, that's probably why they had this. March 11th is their 6th year anniversary.
Oh wow, I was pretty close.
You were? Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry,
so,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
Just
6 years.
curious. Yeah, March 11th, 2014 is when Hearthstone was released.
You're never interrupting me, ever. Please. So okay, March 11th, and then we have the end of the standard year,
Mhm.
and the year of the dragons coming to an end. We're gonna start our new standard year, and I'm sure we're gonna get an announcement of something very exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure, they'll probably save that anniversary day for something neat, right?
yeah. Okay, so that's what Froden says, and so we'll just have some other people from the community chiming in here. Kriparian says, we had an awesome time at the Hearthstone Summit. You all should be very happy with what is coming to Hearthstone soon. We'll be about 2 hours late for today's stream. Dreads Gaming says, just like me, this water bottle is leak proof. Lots of cool stuff coming. Can't wait. Tiago Taparelli says, I'm really impressed with the team, what they presented today. Can't go into specifics,
Oh
but
God, they are milking that whole like we can't say anything, but it's huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
safe to say, 2020 will be a great year for the
Yeah,
game.
that's
Fuck yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro. You got some secrets, bro?
I would tell you everything, Rich.
Yeah, I'd tell you too.
And I would tell everybody. No, I'm just kidding. No, I wouldn't. Invite me.
Invite me next time.
So, what do I want to? Well, I don't know. There's been talk about the basic set, the core set, that they may try to start rotating it out, which makes sense, because they're just kind of static. But they've been messing with them here and there. So, I don't know. I'd like to see. Someone had an idea for that. They would. So I read this on Twitter. I wish I remember who it was. But they would take they would have a band. Every season there would be a new band, and then bring it back after that season is over. So you could ban like Leroy Jenkins, and he just wouldn't be in any decks.
Right.
So it would be fun to ban certain cards.
Yeah.
And then there was an event of something in the tomb. Remember in October they brought back all those wild cards.
Yep.
For a limited time, they brought back all those wild cards and it splashed up standard.
Yeah, that was fun, right?
That was fun. Yeah. So stuff like that would be great. Anything that splashes standard.
I agree. So that's a cool thing that you brought up, because I made a couple comments right after the World Championship happened about like the modes in Arena, how even the play mode, like the casual mode, is overtaken with like these high level decks. And when you go into play mode, I think what most people hope is that it'll be a little bit less serious and a little bit more like you can play some deck that you built and just test it out. But especially when big tournaments happen, like the week after, is like everybody wants to play the top 3 decks, but bringing them into the play mode, like the casual queue, is just such a bum out, because you just want so I said there should be a mode where certain cards are banned, or not banned, but just not allowed, right? This is the same thing.
For Arena, they could do
fun
stuff
so
like that.
They do a thing actually called Standard Shakeup. That's the name of the event, but they only do it every couple months. There's all the top cards are banned, so it's the same exact idea that I had, but they only do it for a little bit. But I feel like they have so many different play modes and different things they offer. Why not just offer the casual room, like the kitchen table, like the home brew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is such a bum out to okay, I'm going to build the silly thing. I know it's not competitive at all, and then you go into the play queue and you're like, oh, okay, World Championship deck, I'm going to concede. World Championship, I'm going to concede. You just have to get to the, because you're going to lose. You just want to play a simple game. So that's what I had put out there. And some people are that's definitely a great thought. But other people are it's impossible to do. But I don't really think it's impossible. With computers and programming and stuff nowadays, you can
Right.
You can eliminate certain cards and not allow them. I mean, that's how the game works. So
Yeah.
just to have a mode that is like, okay, you look at the metagame, the current metagame, and you just eliminate certain cards. You just say, okay, these cards aren't allowed, these cards are allowed, and just keep it that way. And then when a new set comes out, look at the metagame a month into it, and then take them all out, because we just want to play.
Just want to play and have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy the fucking game.
Yeah, enjoy it. So
You know. Yeah. And
I like what Hearthstone does, because you can add cards, take cards away, nerf them. You can take power level away from stuff. You know, you kind of a little bit more flexibility in the power level and just vibe of a certain metagame.
Right.
Like if they see if something's like so powerful, you can just be like, oh, I'm gonna turn it down a little bit.
Yeah. But Magic feels that pressure to
you have to deal with it. Yeah.
Exist in the real world. It's just a mirror.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
People are quick nowadays to be like, oh, this card needs to be banned, it's too good. And it's like when the time when they did that was Oko and Field of the Dead. Those two cards, those are the two cards that I witnessed from when I started. So since I've started playing, those are the first two cards I saw banned in a standard environment.
Well, that gives me another idea. You could do a ban. You could just have, if you go into like a best of 3 with somebody, or do you guys have tournament mode?
Yeah,
It doesn't. It's not the standard ladder though.
It's the event. It's different. So the ladder is the ladder, and then there's a standard event, which is a tournament where you can either do a best of 1, and so you just play no sideboard. It's just a best of 1 tournament. It's either 7 wins or 3 losses, and then they have like a best of 3 tournament mode as well, and it's you play 3 or 4. I was just playing it when you got here. It's either 3 or 4 best of 3s.
Oh. Is that for the standard ladder?
It's not. No, none of them are ranked.
What if you could ban a deck?
Like what Hearthstone does.
We don't.
Right?
We don't. But in a
tournament mode, you do, or in a tournament, you do that, right?
Yeah, we don't have a tournament mode at all.
I think that would be too complicated.
If you could just ban something.
No, I don't want you to play that.
But no, if you get into like a best of 3 and it is for standard ladder.
Yeah.
And you could somehow ban something to make life better.
I wish, but that wouldn't work. You just have to deal with it. Magic is a game of dealing with it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's too easy. People are quick to be like, oh, it's too powerful, let's ban it, but it's not gonna happen. You just gotta deal with it. Magic just still needs to balance out their way of printing and designing cards that are actually answers to these problematic cards and decks and things that come up. So there's still a little bit in flux there, where it's like, if you're up against mono red and you're playing a deck that's not suited well against it, you just know you're going to lose, which is a bum out, right? But if you're playing a top tier deck, which kind of has the toolbox of answers, you're better off. But it's just a new player who's just like, I'm going to put all these big creatures and cool cards together, and then you go into the ladder and you're just getting like smashed by turn 3 every time. I feel like that's discouraging, so that's why a casual queue without those cards would be great. That's my point. That's my take. But
yeah.
So sorry, didn't mean to intervene on the Hearthstone stuff.
That brings me right into my next segment here, which would be my success on ladder.
Yeah.
But it's been a month. It's been a roller coaster of a month.
Mm-hmm.
I started off 11-6, which was strong. I don't even remember what got me there the first time. Then after our episode, I got excited about a homebrew idea that you inspired.
Yep. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a warrior deck. It was using the card that creates the 1/1 bot. And that bot is really powerful.
Yeah.
It's a 1/1 mech for 1. And the death rattle is do 1 to 4 damage. But it does 4 damage every time. Like, in almost every time you hit a minion with it, the death rattle will target that minion. Which doesn't feel random. Yeah. It
always happened too many times.
It's like almost every time it's going to destroy the minion it hit. Yeah. Because if it's 4 or less. That was fun.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it was using that, and also the minion. This was from the Galakrond's Awakening cards.
Right.
That does, every time you play a minion, 1 damage to everything, which made me think, oh, I can use bombs, and I can use just these enrage. What used to be a keyword, it's not anymore, but it's when it's damaged, it gets angry, and the attack goes up. So it used to be called
Magic has the same exact mechanic. What is it called? Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, so I put all these enrage minions in there, and it was working. It was working a little bit. It was working about 50% of the time. So,
wait, what is it called? Enrage?
Enrage.
It's called Enrage in Magic too. Same. It's the
That
same.
must be
It's
why
the
they got
same
rid of
exact.
it.
Same exact mechanic. When it's dealt a damage, certain cards have a certain amount, but whenever it's dealt whatever damage, it does something, and it's usually like deals other damage to something else or creates something. That's funny.
So I had a splash of. I even crafted the weapon that makes bombs. Every time you attack, it creates a bomb that goes into your opponent's deck, and when they draw it, it deals them 5 damage. You can't prevent it, but it's very random. And so I splashed in a bunch of bomb stuff, but it was very unreliable, and it wasn't hitting, and I wasn't winning. So I started to take out the bomb stuff and put more enrage stuff in. I don't have Garage, like the big legendary enrage guy who has charge. He's awesome. I didn't have him. And then I looked up in Rage Warrior. Brian Kibler had a list, and I was like, oh, this list is better than my list, and I don't have all the cards, and then I gave up on it. So 11 to 6, then back to 10. But I had fun.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I had fun. And but then I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just playing against all these top tier decks, and I can't, which reminds me of your situation. And I'm like, I want to make a run.
Adjust, yeah.
So then I tried Regis Kilden's Shotbot deck list. Shotbot Mech Paladin. Regis Kilden. This deck, oh my god, I went on, what a run I went on. I got the coin every time.
Oh, lucky you, yeah.
And I got all of my combo cards. I got Galvanize. Okay, so there's a card, Christology. You want to get Christology in your opening hand. It's a 1-cost spell that draw 2 1-attack minions from your deck. And then you want to draw Galvanizer, which is, 1-attack minions, not 1-cost minions. That's an important distinction. Because Galvanizer is a 1-attack minion. It's a 1/2 for 2 minion. Battlecry, reduce the cost of mechs in your hand by 1. And so it felt like every time I would get Christology, and then I'd get Galvanizer, and then the tempo would be in my favor, and I would.
It's fast.
It's fast, and you go wide, because you can keep. It uses mechs, and they have magnetism, and they can buff, like they can combine to make a more powerful minion. But so you can just make one huge big minion, but then someone can remove it. So go wide every time, and control the board, and keep the tempo, control the board, and then hit face when you. And I did it, and it was amazing. And I felt like I couldn't lose. And then I got to rank 5.
That's awesome.
And it felt good. My goal was to get to rank 6 so that I can start at rank 10 next month, which I've achieved.
Good.
Now I'm at 5, and I'm looking for that next deck to get me to the next tier.
Where is it at? What's there?
Well,
Are there decks that you can craft, like you have the cards, or you're just kind of stuck?
I can craft Galakrond Warrior, which is really fun when it's winning. And
I think every deck is fun when it's winning.
I'm learning that deck. I'm learning you need to get the invokers out early. You want to have the fully invoked Galakrond when it comes out. It's like important because it draws 4 cards and buffs them +4/+4 when it's fully enraged. And it's the really angry Galakrond, because I love it. It's super aggressive and really angry. But you got to invoke. You need to invoke fully, and to really kind of get that tempo and win the game.
Is that hard? Is that hard to do? Does it take a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
feel like
steps or
there's
something?
not as much invoke as there could be, but I'm learning it. So I'll report back. I'll let you know.
Cool.
I'm gonna try some different decks.
Yeah.
Um,
Make sure you play test them first before you just jump into the ladder.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
You want to know how to play it, you know.
Well, it's true. I watched the video.
Yeah.
I watched the Regis Killman video
good,
for like 5 seconds, and I was like, "Oh, he's going wide,"
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's the thing." I was putting that. I was making the mistake of doing. I mean, it's something really simple like that. Go wide,
Yeah.
control the board. That's the strategy.
Yeah.
So you're right. I'm gonna watch video.
Let me watching video. What we'll get to it, but watching the World Championship pros play each other, it was like such another level, and I know why I'm so bad at Magic. Because the lines they were finding that were like completely like out of my radar, and they're like, that's so impressive to like when you watch like your players as well. I'm sure will do things and you'll see things that are like, oh, you know, like crazy. Like I've played these decks, I know how they work, I know the instruction manual, right? Like okay, so I want to do this, I want to get this in play, and that's what you do, and then you win. But there's always a situation where there's like so much thought and layers involved that it's like, okay, watching these players has made me a better player already just by seeing like, okay, this is how I play.
And that you just made me think of something. There's something I learned from the deck, the Shotbot Mech Paladin deck, the minion Gobo Glide tech. It's a 3/3 for 3 battle cry. If you control a mech, gain +1/+1 and rush. I think in the beginning I felt, okay, it's coming out, it's got rush, it's getting pumped, and you need to attack with it right away because you can. But actually, no. Just playing the 3/3, having it come out and get +1/+1, and then if you can control the board with something else, and then just keep your 4/4 on board for the next turn, that's actually more powerful than just attacking with it right away and killing it, because.
But it's a different thought, right?
It's a different thought. Yeah. So
that's I mean, from both of our perspectives, I think whoever's listening to this is, if you haven't dove into the world of like watching videos, highly suggest it.
Yes.
Either just for entertainment purposes, if you don't want to play but you want to watch play, I do that sometimes. I'm not really in the mood to play, but I'll throw a streamer on and just watch. Or if you're like, all right, I'm not really sure how to play this deck, or I'm not really sure how to approach this matchup or whatever, you can find a video on YouTube of the deck that you're interested in playing and a pro or a higher level player playing it, and you'll see how it works.
And I wonder why I didn't, and I know why. I know the psychology of my own mind. It's okay, I'm taking someone else's deck list, but there's part of me who doesn't want to like learn it from them. I like want to just kind of figure it out on my own.
Yourself, yeah.
Because I want to believe I'm better than I am, but it's not true. Fucking just watch the video and learn something. That's how you get better.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yeah, it's like going to school.
Yeah.
It's going to a really fun school.
Yeah.
Playing a video game. You have a professor or teacher just being like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Like I've done that a million times now, and I'm a little bit better at the game because I know there's different. I mean, I've always approached the game and like you need to think things through, but it even goes all the way back to remember that when I was at that draft at Untapped and I missed that one crucial thing and I lost the match because there was like, and then our friend Chris sent a message like, oh, why didn't you use this guy to make that unblockable? And then that would, and I was like, didn't even see it. And I still remember how many months ago that is, and I can recall to a T that thing. And so that's the stuff that you learn from, and so there's different avenues, whether it be in person or online or on YouTube or watching streamers. It's a great benefit.
Absolutely. And so to wrap up my segment, I'll just say my goal is to hit rank 1.
Yeah.
This month, so that I can start at 5 next month and hit Legend next month. That's the goal. So I'll let you know how it goes. Have about 2 weeks left. Is that true? About 1 week.
4
to get to the end of the month.
8 days.
8 days.
It's a short month. It's February.
Yeah, I got over a week.
Oh, is it 29 days this? Yeah, I think it's 29 days this year.
We can do it. I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah.
I got tomorrow. I can play some games.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Cool. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're doing well.
Thank you. Yeah, it felt good.
It's a good feeling.
The highest I've ever been is rank 4.
Yep.
So if I can hit even rank 4, I'd be happy.
It's kind of like when I used to play poker a lot. If I was having a bad run or a bad day, just getting back to the best point that I was at that day, whether it be even or up a little bit, is always a good feel. Like it's a win if you just get back to 0.
Mm-hmm.
So like your top was 4. So if you get to 4, you're like, all right, I'm back to where I felt the best.
I tried the new Merlot Paladin too.
It's not as good.
Didn't work.
No.
Oh, I love that deck. Deck was
fish
flinging fish, and it's such a draw dependent deck.
Yeah.
You need to get Prismatic Lens, and then Prismatic Lens needs to give you the card the right card, not the wrong card.
There's a lot of
so there's
things.
2 things that's very high rolling.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Play a deck that doesn't rely on
Yes.
randomness.
Absolutely.
Cool. If you would like to join me in my Magic segment, can you go to mtggoldfish.com?
Yes.
And as for our Magic listeners and even non-Magic listeners, mtggoldfish.com is a great website to look at prices, to look at articles, to look at current tournaments, deck lists, standings, all of those things for all formats, limited, modern, pioneer, standard, commander, all that stuff. So definitely not a sponsored ad right there. It's just more of a suggestion. If anybody needs a place to go for information about Magic the Gathering, I go there all the time, and they have a really good format. If you want to just copy a deck list and export it to Arena, they have that as well. So, are you on the homepage?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're on mtggoldfish.com, the homepage, on the bottom right underneath the ad for Theros Beyond Death, you'll see recent major events.
Yes.
And then just click on Magic World Championship XXVI.
Okay, I'm there.
All right, so just saying in the beginning, the Magic World Championship was in Hawaii this past last weekend, over the Valentine's Day weekend. So it was a tournament of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 players.
Wow.
And it was all invites, all like the high level Magic players who were invited to this. And they fought it out. They did a draft portion in the beginning, and then that determined their like seed for the standard portion. I didn't take much interest in the draft portion. It's not really that exciting to me to watch a draft. To watch the actual draft, like the actual how someone builds a deck, is interesting to me, but to watch the play, it's just kind of not really that interesting. But learning from how people pick cards and stuff is really cool. But I paid more attention to the constructed format, because Arena did this cool thing where you can pick, it was called Pick Your Champion. So they gave you an option to choose any of the 16 players, and it was basically like a bet, you know what I mean? Like choose your horse, like who's going to come in first. I chose Andrea Mengucci because, first off, he's Italian, so Italians got to stick together. Secondly, he's super awesome, very like personality-wise, very like friendly, does a lot of streaming, top-level pro, has actually interacted with us via Twitter a couple times, so he takes the time. Even though he's a very popular, well-known person, takes the time to communicate and stuff, which is really cool. Yeah. So I picked Andrea, and unfortunately Andrea came in 16th place out of 16. Came in last place, but it's okay. Still a championship. Still a championship to me. But Arena gave you like one rare. It's like there was different, like you can win certain things based on how your champion did. We got these cool.
Hearthstone does that too.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. This is the first time they've done something like this. We got a cool card back with the World Championship trophy on it. So I got a cool sleeve and one rare that actually ended up turning into gems. So that's like whatever.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Get something free. Free stuff is always cool.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, Andrea did not do well. Andrea played mono red. So the big collection of decks. So the decks that were prominent were blue-white control, which is, as you know, I love that style of deck. Always have, always will.
Esper.
Not Esper.
Damn it.
That's the one with black added in.
Oh.
Yeah, so blue-white is Azorius, and then the black one is Esper.
Okay.
Okay, so blue-white is Azorius control. When I first started playing Magic, the guilds weren't named. So I still will refer to things as the colors, not that the guild name.
Yeah.
So I'll say blue-white control, but the kids these days will call that Azorius control.
All right.
Then they did Jeskai Fires, which is red, white, and blue, the Jeskai guild. And the Fires I mentioned, that's the one, that enchantment that you can play cards based on how many lands you have, but you don't have to tap your lands, you can only play 2 cards. And then you just play really big haste creatures and attack. So that deck has been around since the past couple of major tournaments. Mono red was a contender. And then Temur Reclamation, that was the deck we went over last week or the week before. It was the green, blue, red deck that during your opponent's end step, you tap all your land and untap and tap. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that with Expansion Explosion. So that deck, leading up to this tournament, that deck was like where all of the discussion was like, this is the best deck, you can't beat it, whatever. All right, cool. And then one other entrant to the tournament was the Black Sheep. They played the Jund Sacrifice deck that he won a previous Mythic Championship with. So he was like the one that was playing a completely different deck, and he came in second to last place. So unfortunately, his deck didn't do that well. But it was just still a cool call to see, like, all right, I'm playing this one deck. Everybody else is playing these 3. There's literally only 4 decks represented. But it's a very small field, so it's like there's only 16 players, so that makes sense. So it's a cool call seeing him do that, but unfortunately, he didn't do too well.
It's like I'm bringing my own thing.
Bringing my own thing. I think he designed that deck too. That was his thing from the last. So it's cool that he had the trust in it. So third place was the player Seth Manfield, and third place was Mono Red Aggro. So Mono Red has gone under these really cool changes lately, where they've taken out all the direct damage, like shocks and skewer the critics and stuff, and it's all mostly creature based. It's all small haste creatures that do stuff, or creatures with the benefit like Rimrock Knight or Bone Crusher Giant. So
like goblins. Like a goblin deck.
If you click on Mono Red Aggro on there, and you can actually kind of go through the deck list real quick and talk about the key cards in the deck. Interestingly enough, you might remember me complaining about the card Robber of the Rich a couple times. And that's the 2/2 for 2 that when it attacks, if your opponent has more cards in hand than you get to exile the top card of their library, and if it's a spell, you can play it during any turn that you attacked with a rogue. And that also takes cards that are lands off the top of your library, so if you're running short on lands, if it takes a land, the land goes away. So that card is
That's not a lot for 2. That does a lot.
It does a lot, and there's a reason why it's a mythic too. It makes sense that it's a mythic rare because it's a really good card, and that card's being seen in more decks nowadays. It's a great 2-drop. A 2/2 haste for 2 is great, and then that added ability is almost always relevant. Your opponent usually will always have more cards in hand than you if you're playing red. Didn't see a lot of players that played mono red get to use the ability where it steals something and you can play your opponent's thing, but it did come up every once in a while, but it was never really that big of a deal. I just think exiling a card off the top of your opponent's library is just good enough as it is, right? But to be able to play it too, it's a lot of stuff. So Robber of the Rich is pretty good. Another addition to mono red, which has been really good, is Anax Hardened in the Forge. That's a new card from Theros Beyond Death. It's the 1 colorless and 2 red legendary enchantment creature whose power is equal to your devotion to red, and then whenever another creature dies, you create a 1/1 red satyr token with this creature can't block. And if the creature had power 4 or greater, you can create 2 tokens instead. So what Annex does to make your deck resilient is that if your opponent has a board wipe, you'll get a 1/1 creature for every creature that dies. So your opponent is stuck with like, okay, if you have 3 creatures in play, board wipe, you're gonna get 3 creatures back. Which made this deck really, really, really strong because it just constantly is putting pressure on your opponent. Especially if it's a deck where you can only do 1 or 2 things a turn.
Oh, is it like gives everything a death rattle? All of your minions get a death rattle.
Exactly. So when your minions die, their death rattle is create a 1/1 minion with can't block. Does that work?
Yeah, that's good enough for me.
All right, yeah. So that's
keeps your board alive.
Yeah, Annex is really good, especially when you get an Embercleave in play. It becomes like usually becomes either like a 6 or a 7/3, and then the Embercleave's on that, and then it's bashing in for 14 points of damage in 1 turn. It's just, this deck is really good.
I like that, a minion that has like a spell effect.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so NX is just a really, really annoying card, and it's a really good addition to mono red, and it's really cool that they took out all of these, they took out all the direct damage, and they just rely on pressure from all of these creatures. So Seth Manfield was playing this deck, and was like I was saying earlier about navigating a certain, it was like, they are the best players in the world. It was like watching like a magician play, because there were certain points where you're like, hey, get down from there. She's like, oh, this again? And the cat just hopped up on our video podium, aka the cat tree. So watching him play was just like, taught me how to play certain matchups, like watching him play against Blue-White Control versus watching him play against Team Reclamation. It learned a lot. It's really good. I mean, it's what people will joke about and assume is that red is easy. It's just mindless. Like, oh, you just play things, and definitely not. Every deck that you play is there's thought that goes into it, and you have to, watch what your opponent's doing. You have to anticipate things. So there was a lot of really cool, like, seeing people anticipate a card that's in your opponent's deck and playing around it and having to make them make the play, so then you can, so it's like steps ahead and stuff.
Yeah, chess match.
It's definitely a chess match. I would definitely recommend anybody who has not watched any of the matchups, I would say go on YouTube, they're all there now, or on Twitch. I think Twitch, because they streamed it live on Twitch. I think they have the videos up on Twitch as well, the Magic channel on Twitch. But
and they're probably prepared by playing against all those decks.
Yeah, a lot of training.
Did they post their deck list before, or?
The deck lists for this went in, I think, a week early, and then that's it. And the interesting thing that they've done nowadays is they're called open deck lists. So once they're published, everybody knows what everybody else is playing. So they'll have a piece of paper while they're playing to reference what cards are in each other's decks. I'm a little bit on the fence on that one. I feel like that's a step that's like makes it a little bit too easy. And it's not saying easy, like it's still hard. You're at the World Championship. You're obviously like, there's skill involved there. But when I go up against an opponent any other time when I play an arena or whatever,
I'm not 100% sure.
You don't know what's in there, right? Mm-hmm. So you should, I feel as if you should, like that you should really not know what's in your opponent's, because that gives you the opportunity to be like, okay, they have Deafening Clarion as an example, which is a spell that does 3 damage to every creature, and you're playing mono red. So mono red would have the tendency sometimes to like overextend and play a whole bunch of creatures. And if you don't know your opponent has Deafening Clarion in their deck, then you might think you're safe. But then if you do know, so you can not play all your creatures and play around it. So you have like this extra step, and I mean that's a lot of what was happening there, is that you saw what these players were playing around, because they'd be like playing, and then you'd see them, they'd look at their list and be like, okay, just reminding themselves what's in there. I mean, I'm sure they know, because these decks aren't really a secret anyway. There were the higher end decks going into the tournament. But the mono red deck was really cool. I gave it so going into this segment today, I played these decks a few times too. After I'm sure like what everybody did was like, all right, let's play them, let's see how they are. I feel the weakness that I encountered with this is stalling out against decks where you might have a couple small creatures that get killed. You have a bigger creature and you try to get to your Embercleave turn where you're attacking with a few creatures and then casting Embercleave. Most of the times your opponent has an answer to that like one crucial turn that can set you back, and then they can the tempo swings in their favor. So I feel like the mono red weakness is just like you are up against a board wipe and then you have to start over, or you're up against like a bounce spell that really throws your tempo off. Like, because mono red usually only has like 3 or 4 lands in play, so you can still do a few things, but when you only have 4 lands in play and then you have to replay your 3 casting cost guy after it gets bounced, slows you down. Gives your opponent a chance to catch up, gain life, whatever it is. So I think that was the weakness there that I experienced, but it's still, watching Seth Manfield play that deck was very impressive. A lot of cool lines there. Second place was Marcio Carvalho, who played Jeskai Fires, and Jeskai Fires has been around for a while. There wasn't a lot of change to this deck aside from the addition of Dream Trawler into the deck. So a lot of people will know that the Jeskai Fires deck revolves around Fires of Invention as the major enchantment that lets you play giant things for however many land that you have in play. You can only play 2 things per turn. So so I played the deck a few times. I've played this deck in the past. I played this version of it. What I experienced is that if you don't have a key card, and I saw him definitely also during the tournament, he didn't get to his fires at a crucial point to be able to play his big stuff and swing with the big attack in one turn. If you don't get to your Fires of Invention by turn 4, which these decks really want to do, you're kind of struggling to control the board because the theme of the deck is to be able to play 2 big things in a turn and attack with them. Like, you just play it, then activate the Cavalier of Flame and go for it. And then usually when you're attacking with 2 things, with a Cavalier of Flame, you're attacking for 7, and let's just say you had a Sphinx's Foresight out, which is a 4/4, it becomes a 5/5, so you're attacking for at least 12 points of damage, at least in your first swing, and that's the least amount of damage that you're swinging for. But if you don't get your Fires of Invention and you're kind of struggling, you're going to clear the board with a Deafening Clarion. You're going to play a Kenrith to gain 5 life back, or maybe draw a card. There's a lot of like defensive points that you're at if you can't play your big guys, and that's what I kind of saw him struggle with a couple times, because they got to the finals. They came in second place. And it went to, so the format of the tournament was kind of confusing to follow, because there were all these brackets. There was upper brackets, lower brackets, and then there was like the finals. And the finals were the person who had the better record going into the last match only had to win 2 best-of-3 matches versus the person that came in second in the standings. Mm-hmm. He had to win 3 best-of-3s. So if the first guy won 2 best-of-3s, he would have won the tournament. But Marcio had to win 3 best-of-3s in order to win the tournament. It was a really weird setup. So the guys...
What was the prize?
$300,000 for first prize. Yeah.
And your face on a card.
And your face on a card. And you helped design a card, yeah.
That's awesome.
Very awesome. Very, very cool. So this deck, no surprise, it's a good deck, but it falters at like missing its key cards at certain times. It functions kind of like a combo deck. I mean, once you have your enchantment and big thing, and you're really just kind of putting pressure on in 1 or 2 turns. So Dream Trawler wins games. I mean, Dream Trawler in any deck, whenever you cast it, it's pretty much going to win the game. But having that in the deck to gain life back and draw cards and stuff is pretty awesome too, and giving it haste. So yeah, so that deck is not too. I played it a couple times, like I said, and it definitely was like faltered at not having the right things at the right time. He kept in game, so spoiler alert, he gave, they went to 5 games. So they both won. They were at a point where Marcio won 2 of his 3 and Paulo won 1 of his 2. So they were in a decisive match. So it went to the last matchup, right? So whoever won that one, very cool way to close out a world championship. In game, I think it was game 3 of the final match, Marcio kept a hand that had whatever color cards, let's just say, I can't remember, but I remember the setup. He had like 5, let's say, red cards, and he only had blue mana, like 2 blue mana in his hand. And he didn't mulligan, he kept the hand. And he got to, it just didn't work out for him. Yeah, so a couple people said that it looked like he was frustrated and kept the hand out of frustration. Which is not a good place to be when you're in the final match of the World Championships. But I think because he lost game 2, I think he won game 1, lost game 2, so going into game 3 of that match, he was kind of frustrated.
That's the problem.
Yeah, so he got land screwed, and then I watched that final. I mean, that's the clip of the last game. The last matchup is online, and you can watch it, and he just it was like land, all of the wrong color, and then he didn't draw land. He ended up conceding pretty early into game 3. He was like, yeah, not gonna, it's just, that's what happens in Magic sometimes. It's like, yeah, it's just not gonna happen. I can't catch up. So, but good job, Marcio Carvalho.
Yeah,
good job there. And then, so the winner was Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa, who played blue-white. I think he's from Brazil.
Brazil?
Viva Brazil. And excuse me if he's not Brazilian. I believe he is Brazilian, but all right. So he's a very well-known, very talented, very well-decorated Magic the Gathering player. And I think the one thing that was missing from his resume was a World Championship. So very cool, very good story there. I did actually see last night, I didn't get a chance to look at it, but there's a documentary they did on his championship. So he had like a video crew or whatever following him for the World Championship. So that looks really interesting. So I'll probably watch that today or tomorrow to kind of see how that looks, because it's very cool knowing that he won. So to kind of see his path up to that. And I think it was the last 2 Mythic Championships ago, he got to the final 2. And unfortunately, obviously, he came in second there. So he's very good, well decorated. But so he played blue-white control, and it's very surprising, but a nice surprise that blue-white control is such a valid archetype right now, because as I've been playing Arena, blue-white control has been where I want to be. I wanted to make it work. And now it's working because Theros Beyond Death brought a few really key cards to the blue-white archetype. Those cards being Dream Trawler for one. That's your finishing move. That's your
draw a card, discard a card.
Draw a card, gain life. It gets bigger, can't be killed. That's your key. I like the build of this deck that included 1 Archon of Sun's Grace, which is the 3/4 flyer from Theros Beyond Death. That it's 2 colors and 2 white. It's got flying and lifelink, and then Pegasus creatures you control have lifelink, and then Constellation. And Constellation is the mechanic that whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, you get to create a 2/2 white Pegasus creature token with flying. So this deck has so many small enchantments that when you have an Archon out and you keep playing enchantments, bouncing enchantments, playing them again, you're creating a little army of 2/2 flyers with lifelink, which is awesome. So it's got 3 Dovin's Vetoes, which is the counter spell that counters non-creature spells that can't be countered. So that's very important. 4 Absorbs, you know what Absorb is. Counter target spell, gain 3 life. 2 Mystical Disputes in the main deck. That's the spell costs 2 less to cast if it counters a blue spell. And then counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. 3 Thirst for Meanings, which is a new draw spell from Theros. It's draw 3 and then discard 2 cards unless you discard an enchantment card. So if you draw 3 cards and you draw one of your enchantments that you don't really need anymore, you can pitch that one in, so you still net 2 cards. 3 Shatter the Skies. This card is exactly what I was saying when we were doing the pre-release stuff, is that blue-white needed a 4 casting cost board wipe. and it got it, and it's been exactly what it needed. It needed a turn 4 board wipe, especially against mono red and red green stuff that kills the whole board.
When the gods go to war, mortals pay the highest price.
That's some stuff on that card. The people look so sad.
Yeah.
They look terrified. Man, I mean, when the gods are warring, mortals pay the price. So 4 Omen of the Seas, that's the 2 casting cost, 1 blue, what colors? Flash enchantment that when it comes into play, you scry 2 and then draw a card, and you can sack it to scry 2. 3 Birth of Meletus, that's the saga that when it comes into play, you get to grab a plains and put it in your hand. Then chapter 2, you get an 0/4 wall, and then chapter 3, you gain 2 life. That card that card's really good for an uncommon. You get 3 really little things, but they add up in the end. First off, you get to search your library for a land, so you're not land screwed on turn 2. Then on turn 3, you get to get an 0/4 wall, so you get a nice blocker. If there's something out there that you'd like, say a Robber of the Rich, for instance, a 2/2, you get an 0/4 wall, so you can stop that from hitting you. And then you just gain 2 life at the end when it goes away, but still that 2 life can add up. 2 Banishing Lights, that's another enchantment from Theros. That's when it comes to the battlefield, you exile a non-land permanent opponent controls until Banishing Light goes away. So any problematic anything, that'll get rid of it until it leaves. 3 Elspeth Conquers Death. That card is doing a lot of work now. Chapter 1, it's an enchantment saga, 3 colors and 2 white. So when it comes into play, you exile target permanent an opponent controls with casting costs 3 or greater. So that's chapter 1. So if they have any problematic thing that costs 3, it goes away. It's exiled forever. Then chapter 2 triggers, and non-creature spells your opponent controls cost 2 colorless more to cast until your next turn. So it slows your opponent down. And then chapter 3 is return target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then put a +1/+1 counter on it if it's a creature, or an additional loyalty counter on it if it is a planeswalker. This card is just like, I played up against somebody who was playing this deck, and I was playing the Jeskai Fires just to do just giving it a little play test. Elspeth Conquers Death is so good because even if you kill your opponent's planeswalkers, who are the most problematic thing in this deck for your opponents, because it's either Teferi or Narset. Narset is drawing cards and preventing you from drawing cards. Teferi is bouncing your stuff and preventing you from playing instants. Even if you kill them, when Elspeth Conquers Death Chapter 3 goes off, they come back from the graveyard with an additional counter on them. So it's almost like you're not doing anything. You're giving your opponent the planeswalker again. So it's just like I was playing against somebody yesterday who they played an Elspeth Conquers Death and got rid of one of my things. I played an Elspeth Conquers Death and got rid of their Elspeth Conquers Death because they had planeswalkers in their graveyard. Then next turn they played an Elspeth Conquers Death on my Elspeth Conquers Death so they could get theirs back. It was just like it was a back and forth because people know how good that card is. And especially if you can get a planeswalker back out of your graveyard, or a big creature that might have been killed. So that's a all-star for sure. And then what's a really important part that might be overlooked in this deck is the Castle Ardenvale, which is the white castle that creates 1/1 human creature tokens. Because your win condition in this deck is very narrow. If your Archon of Sun's Grace or Dream Trawler are killed somehow and your Elspeth Conquers Death can't get them back, if you look, you have no win condition. You have no creatures. You can't attack your opponent, but the Castle Ardenvale creates 1/1s. And I, in fact, played this deck against somebody, and at the end step, every end step I was creating 1/1s, so they couldn't come up with an answer or a board wipe, and if they did, I have a counterspell backup. So I was making 1/1, and then the next turn I had 2 1/1s, then the next turn I had 3 1/1s, so I was able to attack them for, exponential damage each turn. So that is a very important card in the deck because it gives you an alternate win condition, and it can't be interacted with unless your opponent has a Field of Ruin, which is a new card that was an old card that came back to kill your Castle Ardenvale, but you do have 3 in the deck, so you're pretty much going to be okay if you have a Castle Ardenvale and can control your opponent's spells. So he won the tournament with that deck, and I was really happy to see that because blue-white control, again, it's always been a part of my Magic history, and I like seeing people be able to navigate to the top of tournaments with decks that are like that. So congratulations to PVDDR, as he's also known by. And
that'd be a fun deck to play.
Yeah, I have it built. I built all these in Arena. Like I said, play tested them. My record with Jeskai Fires is 0-3. Control was 50-50. And what you looking at?
Oh, I'm trying to figure out how long we've been
Oh,
going.
an hour and 5 minutes.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a small sample size. I was just messing around with them, but they're cool decks. Mono red, fun to play. It's an interesting take nowadays with no direct damage and stuff. So it's actually a little bit more difficult to play that way. But if anybody goes back and watches the highlights from the World Championships, you'll see a lot of cool things that you might not have seen otherwise. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And secondly, real quick, we did have the drafts event.
Yes.
So for anybody who showed up and who's listening to the podcast, I can't thank you enough. We had 16 people show up to the first, and I was beyond thrilled. Everybody who came, a lot of familiar faces from Untapped Games, some people that just reached out via like hearing about it somewhere else. So we had a really good time.
Total success.
Total success.
You only needed how many people to do it?
Six would have been the minimum, you know. So
and you
know,
got
having 16 showed up.
Beautiful.
So it's great. I got a list for the one that's coming up on Sunday. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 14 signed up already. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
It was just my intention with this night was to give the community a place to play with there's nothing that I am getting out of it other than seeing people happy playing and having people come. You know, like I said, Sunday nights at my work sometimes are really slow. The space is there. The trust from my managers and coworkers and stuff was there. So I said, let me just take care of it if you back what I'm trying to do. And that was proof enough that it was fine. Everything went great. Everybody was happy. The fact that we have 14 people signed up for next time is a key that people enjoyed it. So thank you. It was awesome. Everybody was just so wonderful, and I'm glad that we got to have such a great turnout for the first one that shows that, like, all right, we did something cool. So
Rachel and I are going to the one in March, the first one in
March 8th.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
So
We're gonna play?
2 noobs.
2 noobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, new people welcome. Are you gonna play?
Oh yeah.
Are you gonna play?
I'm gonna play and drink. I'm gonna have fun and eat. Order my nachos right
You
now.
gonna order rosé?
I'm gonna have a beer.
Have you seen Stranger Things?
Oh yeah, seen them all. Loved it. Ah!
What does that look like? Doesn't
The
that look
face
like? Doesn't that look like
The
the
Gorgon face.
Doesn't it?
Totally does. The tangerine all opened
That's
up.
crazy.
No.
Anyway, so drafts, great turnout. Thanks again. If you are listening and in the Providence area and didn't hear about it yet, we do this every other Sunday at Trinity Brew House. Sign-ups start at 6. We try to start by 6:30 p.m. We're doing booster draft. The interest in other formats is there, but I wanted to sort of get the roots in the booster draft because that's the easiest one to do in the beginning. We have prize support from Trinity Brew House in the form of gift cards, food, drink, a discount on your meal too, just for signing up.
First place is the growler.
First place is a gift card.
Oh.
Second place is a growler. Yeah.
That's amazing prizes.
Mm-hmm. And then third place is a free pint if you so choose. I also offer packs as prize support too for those who might not drink or who don't have any interest in the prizes. But everybody who won,
I can't
loosen up a little.
Drunk. All right,
just looson up.
Just one.
I'll limit yours.
I'm gonna need every minute to make my deck.
To
craft my deck.
Oh yeah.
So everyone needs to be patient.
I'll help you.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't play, and that's the thing. I don't play. I can help.
Okay.
So thanks for that. That's a lot of fun. I keep saying it, but I can't. It's just such a cool thing that I was able to see a success in something that I thought about, and that's a really good feeling sometimes. Like if I can't win on arena, I can win in real life by creating a fun community oriented event. So
yeah, like all your people are in your at your work. Like just be cool.
It's a lot of fun. So so that's the magic segment, and if you have any questions, hit me up on the Discord, discord.me/
/Mythic Legendaries.
Yeah. Twitter.com/Mythic Legendary with a Y.
Yes. Singular. Thanks so much for supporting the show. Please tell a friend. We're listener supported. Show your support by joining that Discord.
Yeah.
Chiming in, starting some conversations. Discord.me/Mythic Legendaries, and which we also have a show notes spot where we post all our deck lists and everything, anything fun we talk about that we can put a link, we put in the show notes.
Yes. So what's up?
So
off topic time.
Yeah. So okay, so two things happened to me unexpected, which is always fun when life throws something unexpected at you.
Most of the time.
Yeah. I had a very challenging day.
Yeah.
Trying to get to Vegas with my husband. We were going to see Jim Jeffries. He loves Jim Jeffries. I love Jim Jeffries too. My husband loves Jim Jeffries. We've seen everything he's ever done. We were going to Vegas to see him. I didn't realize the Vegas, the Valentine's Day also coordinated with President's Day too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So a lot of people were making a big little vacation out of it. And it was a very bad time to try to fly standby.
Okay.
So my plan kept changing. It went all the way down to, it started with, we're going to fly first class on my airline for free. It's going to be great. All the way down to, we might get on a Spirit red eye.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big change.
So we get to the terminal.
Yep.
I give him his boarding pass. I had printed it at home. Drop him off at security. I'm going to go through the crew member security, which is you just scan the thing.
Right.
Most of the time, just let you through. Sometimes you get randomed,
Yep.
and you have to go through pre-check or whatever. So, did I tell you this story yet?
No. We haven't spoken since the last time I saw you.
So
I was like, hey, how was Vegas? And you were like, save it for the pod. And I haven't, I haven't spoken to you. So yeah, go ahead.
So I go to the crew member security checkpoint. I scan my thing, my special thing. Boop, boop. Denied. Okay.
That's weird.
Almost 5 years as a flight attendant, never has ever been denied. Scan it again. Boop, boop. Denied. It's like, oh, that's weird. He goes, you're not even showing up on the screen. You work here? I'm like, in uniform.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Scan it again. Boop, boop. Denied. I'm like, now my cheeks are red.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. Well, I'll just go through security. Whatever. So I just turn around and head back into the terminal. And my husband Brian's walking towards me. He didn't make it through security. He had an issue. His ID is from 15 years ago. He's got a big beard and a bald head. He looks like a motorcycle gang member. He doesn't look like anything like his ID.
Right.
So they denied him. They said verify ID. He had to go back to the gate or whatever. He had to go back to the check-in counter.
Yeah.
Which was a whole other thing. Which is just a whole other thing. Long story short, we didn't make the flight. Okay.
All right.
And we should have been told earlier that we weren't going to make the flight. So we did waste almost 3 hours waiting for a flight that they didn't take care of us at all, and it was very frustrating. But that's okay. Whatever. What's interesting to me, out of this whole experience, the most interesting thing, I learned some lessons, but the most interesting thing to me was almost 5 years, never been denied.
Yeah.
Because later on, after we made it through security finally, I had him scan my thing again and it was fine.
That's weird.
But 5 years, never been denied. That particular time, I turned around, went back, there's Brian walking towards me. So it's like, why am I being denied? Why am I being denied? I go back, there he is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I was denied. This is a big picture moment.
Huh.
This is the universe.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
this is the universe just like saying,
hey, let me
there's
sort things out
more.
for you.
There's more to life than just the physical. Like there's something else. Like I can imagine Brian as a guardian angel, like snap his fingers. No, Brian needs you. Brian needs you.
Is there any way, and probably not, is there any way because of Brian's denial you got denied?
No, not at all.
Not at all, right?
Totally
Okay.
unrelated.
Okay.
Yeah, totally unrelated. Because he just had a boarding pass.
Okay.
He went to the guy. He waited in line. Went to the guy, showed his ID and his boarding pass, and they were like, man.
And it was because he didn't look like
Because
his
he
picture?
didn't look like his picture.
Wow.
He has his passport. He could use his passport, which is more recent.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have to get the real ID soon. When he's
Yeah.
gonna have to get a new picture. But the picture is so funny that he's held on to
Yeah.
it because it's hilarious to see the picture.
I gotta see that.
You gotta see it.
Yeah.
I'll post a picture of it in the show notes.
Yeah, you should.
Um,
So what happened? What happened? What happened? Okay, step 2. You missed flight 1. I'm invested in this story.
Okay. Well, we didn't make it. We
Right.
canceled the trip.
No.
Yeah, we canceled the trip.
All together?
Canceled the whole Vegas trip.
Oh.
I can't believe you. I forgot that you didn't know
You
this.
didn't tell me anything.
We've canceled the trip. I can't, like, we were going to go to the Wicked Spoon Cosmopolitan buffet,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I was going to lose that too. Good news is, I canceled that. They refunded my money for that, $100-something bucks.
Yeah.
And they were nice enough at the hotel, which I had kind of prepaid for.
Mhm.
Like, because I was like, oh yeah, like it'll be better because we're taking a red eye.
Right,
I want to make sure our room is there.
Yeah.
And I checked in online, and like they held a bunch of money because it was like this. They jacked up the prices because of Valentine's
Right,
Day.
of course.
It was like megabucks. It was like 500 something bucks for it was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like 200 something a night.
Wow.
And they refunded all the money.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, which they didn't have to.
Yeah.
According to their policies, they were really nice at the Mirage, and I'd like to go stay there at some point again. But
I'm sure that happens. Like it just depends on who you talk to. You have to call, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
I called,
Yeah. It depends on who you get. I appreciate when people in the hospitality, me being in the service industry, you're in the service industry of a different kind of sort, but we're all like we deal with people, and of course there's problems that come up, and something like you couldn't help what happened, right?
Yeah.
And when you need to be like, okay, I gotta call and I gotta cancel, and I hope they're gonna. I get all worked up about that stuff too, but.
I
If you're nice,
hate
you just,
that hanging over my head because all this money and like you get nothing for it if you didn't get. They refund. The only money we lost was on the tickets.
Yeah.
And I tried to give them away, but no one I knew in Vegas was home that day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was like $75 a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a plan B.
What is it?
We're gonna go see Jim Jeffries in Canada.
Are you really?
Yeah.
When?
He's performing in London, Ontario in May.
Okay.
And we're gonna drive.
Whoa.
We're gonna rent a luxury car and
Okay.
drive. Both have a window seat,
Uh-huh.
and get to. I love driving places.
Yeah, me too.
I've done
Road trips
some
are fun.
long ass drives, and 9-hour drive is nothing to me. But
Yeah.
we're gonna drive to Buffalo, 6 hours.
Yeah.
I drove 16 hours to Cedar Point Park. No problem. Fucking no problem, man. I love
We're
it.
used to it. You and I are used to it. Van, sitting in a van for an entire day, just driving across the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Oh man, some major drives just for one show.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna drive to.
That's awesome.
I wish I could drive to Vegas. I would, but that's too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna drive to Canada, and we've never been to Niagara Falls, so we're gonna check out
Cool.
Niagara Falls.
Cool.
Be a little made in this.
Nice.
And I'm excited. We're gonna do the VIP. We're gonna meet Jim Jeffries. We're taking it to the next level.
That's awesome.
Like, you're gonna
Make up
deny
for
me?
it. Yeah. Make up for it. That's great.
I'm gonna fucking meet Jim Jeffries. I'm gonna tell him that I'm gonna tell him we tried to
Tell the
see
story.
you in Vegas. We weren't able to because I'm an idiot. Then the other thing that happened, which is crazy.
Yes.
I'm at work, Okay.
And at work means you're on an airplane.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm on an airplane, working a flight
Mm-hmm.
to Austin, Boston to Austin.
Boston to Austin.
This is day one of a 4-day trip.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the zone, in the work zone, selling credit cards.
Focus, getting that extra money, getting that credit card money. Yep.
I work the whole flight.
Mm-hmm.
I get to Vegas. And Rachel is texting me.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel is your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And she's texting me, and she's saying stuff that's like doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, what is going on? I don't understand. She was on the flight.
That's right. Yep.
She had told me back in December she was gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
I totally didn't remember.
Right.
I didn't factor it into my schedule a bit.
Right.
It was completely random.
Yeah.
She's on the flight.
Yep.
Not only is she on my flight, she didn't say my name.
Yeah.
And like try to wake me up out of my daze. Had no idea.
Yeah.
I spoke to her probably, or looked her. She looked me right in the eye and like winked at me.
Yep. She told me that. It's so funny. I could just picture you, because there's been times in our friendship where I've seen that part of you where you're like, should know what's happening, and are completely not there, like not as a negative. You're just like you're focused on another thing.
Yeah, it's weird if you don't expect something to be there. You can't see it. It's like invisible.
Right.
Like on a smaller scale, I'm at the grocery store. I'm looking for cupcakes, and I just expect that they would not be refrigerated. So I'm looking in the places where the unrefrigerated. And then I had to ask somebody. I walked right by them like 5 times. They were right there.
Right there. Yeah.
You know,
just like
they were
where you focus your energy on something else. And exactly, if you're not expecting a certain thing, and you're just like, I'm focused on.
That's why I think alternate universes exist right in front of us. We just can't notice them.
See it.
You just
You're
don't.
not looking for it.
But if the right person who can have access to it goes, hey, look at that! Look at that wrinkle in time right there.
That's so funny. Okay, so you get
a simulation.
So you got when was the moment that you realized what was happening? Like you said, you landed in Vegas. So was the flight from
in Austin?
Oh, Austin, not Vegas. You said Vegas.
Oh yeah, so
you landed in Austin.
Not
she was
only
texting you.
Not only was this first day of the trip, but also had a layover in Austin. So it was a one and done day, and we always pay for those days like later on in the trip where you have a long day.
Right.
But the first day of the trip was one and done in Austin, long layover in Austin.
Yeah.
And so I'm texting her, and she's texting me like, you know, you look good selling those credit cards and this and that. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And
I could just imagine how confused you were. I love it.
I'm like, please tell me you're in Austin right now. And she goes, yeah, I'm in Austin. She's like, I was on your flight. I'm like, what the fuck? What world am I living in?
Yeah.
And then, so we had dinner.
That's awesome.
We got to hang out and walk around Austin. Austin is like never-ending summer. Yeah. It's fucking beautiful. There's people walking around in yoga pants and crop tops. I mean, it's awesome. Incredible. Yeah. Of shedding layers. Yeah. It was unbelievable. We met at the Whole Foods and like took it from there. We had I had chia pudding.
And baby wipes.
And baby wipes. Soft and strong. Yeah. Those are beautiful wipes.
Yeah.
And did you tell you the other thing I bought?
Yes, but I forget.
You did?
Yeah.
You did forget?
I did forget.
Okay, good. Not reminding me.
Okay.
And so that was just incredible. Incredible. What are the fucking odds, Rich? That's incredible.
Yeah. The universe is sprinkling some cool things your way.
What are the fucking odds that I would bid for a trip randomly, and that happened to be the trip where she was going, and not only was that, but the trip was one and done, and we were able to basically spend the day together.
Hang out. Whereas you probably would have maybe like not done that. You would have gone to the hotel, maybe went and got something to eat, and then just.
I think my plan was just to play Hearthstone in my room the whole time. Instead, I got to. Went out. I walked along the river, and like I hit all my rings on my Apple Watch, all my health rings.
All your steps.
I got all my steps in.
That's awesome.
Closed 3 rings.
Yeah.
So went out with Rachel, had a great dinner.
On that same exact topic of the universe being crazy, so Rachel had an experience that I was involved in Austin.
What?
That was like crazy for both of us. So she works for a company based in Austin.
Okay.
And was there for work and was at dinner, and she happened to be sitting next to somebody that she works with that, now I don't 100% remember or know how they got to know the connection of me to her, but my friend Alana, who I used to work out with at the gym in California, was sitting next to her, and they worked together. And they got to the point where they were like, oh, my boyfriend is so and so, and she, I guess, was like, oh my god, we used to work out together, and they work together, like they work in the same company, they have been working together for this whole time. But
is crazy.
They were sitting next to each other at dinner, and she sent me a picture, and I was like, wait a second, that's a lot. Like in my head, I was like, it took me a second, same kind of thing. I was like looking at her and like, I know her, but why am I seeing that? Like, I could imagine it's the same feeling. Like,
so she went on a trip where she went connected to both of us,
and everybody's connected. Yeah. So Alana was one of my friends at the gym, and we used to work out together. And when I moved, funny enough, when I moved back, I sold Alana and her housemate a whole bunch of my stuff because I couldn't move everything. And it's funny, she was like, yeah, and your TV's still working fine, still going strong, so because I sold her one of the TVs. But yeah, isn't that crazy?
This is crazy. It's like when, on a talk show like Ellen or Oprah, and they surprise somebody with like, if you had showed up, if you had been there, like imagine
you texted her like, you better not be here.
Imagine if you were there, and like she's
and
not only am I here, but Rich was on the flight too. My head would have exploded, and I would have been dead in Austin. You would have had to bury me.
That's a cool, like, the universe is crazy sometimes. The universe is crazy. That was really cool. She'd like tell me about running into you, then she told me about running into Alana, and it was just like, and then you're putting it in a bigger perspective. It's like the universe is crazy, man.
Yeah,
bro. So,
that's it.
That is it. I watched a couple movies over the past couple days. Did you see Parasite?
No.
This year's Best Picture.
I did see that it won Best Picture, but I've never seen it.
Okay.
And I don't remember it being in theaters.
Right. It was one of those movies that I saw advertised, and it was definitely not in all theaters. It seemed like it was because it's a foreign language film. The director directed quite a few well-known movies. The first one off the top of my head is Snowpiercer. You've seen Snowpiercer, right? No. I thought you saw Snowpiercer.
I saw Dick Piercer. Did you see that one?
No, I haven't.
Oh, sorry.
Here, let me just read you, because I was completely unaware of his filmography. Okay, so no, that's not the same one. Mother's is a different one. Yeah, it's a South Korean. So the director's name is Bong Joon-ho from South Korea. So he directed Parasite, and that won Best Picture this year. Okja, did you see Okja? It was kind of like a half animated, half realistic movie about like a big pig and this little girl like raising this bit, and then it
so Detective Pikachu, does that count?
No, Detective Pikachu doesn't count. So Okja, Snowpiercer, Mother, The Host. The Host was actually really good. That was kind of like a horror movie.
I saw The Host because Saoirse Ronan's in that.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorites. She's awesome. Back from City of Ember. City of Ember. That's like such a great movie. I read the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should. I wish that had become a Universal. Like if Universal had produced it, maybe it would been like a ride at Universal. The whole movie was designed to be like a theme park attraction.
Really?
Sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, anyway, so I finally watched Parasite. I have a app on my my Firebox, my Amazon Firebox, that you can like watch. It's not the most. You can stream movies that aren't out yet. It's one of those kind of things.
Was it? So do you think was it worthy of Best Picture?
Yeah, it was a good movie.
All right.
So, like I was saying, it was not in all theaters. It was like a small thing. And I thought it was a small independent movie because it was a foreign language film, and it was only in a couple theaters. And then, like before it was like, before I could even see it, it was like out of theaters. I was like, oh, okay. Just thought it was like one of those little like indie movies that just was like, oh, let's see it, and then ended up being pretty friggin' important. Really good movie. I highly suggest it. It is all in Korean, so
well, we love foreign
Do
films.
you?
Yeah, Ryan. That's all he watches on Netflix is all kinds of stuff.
It's such
subtitles. We always have subtitles on, even in English.
Yeah. It's I'm at that age where I'm just like, yeah, subtitles, it helps.
Yeah.
Parasite is. I didn't know about it, so I'm not gonna spoil anything for anybody. It's just like I watched it. It's a great movie. Definitely, probably amongst the nominees for Best Pictures. Definitely, like.
I want to watch the Adam Sandler one too that you saw.
Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Maybe I might go see that tomorrow if it's still in theaters.
Movie. Oh my God.
Really?
I watched it 3 times.
What? Are you working tomorrow?
I'm working for the next 5 days in a row.
Okay.
People have not seen Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. Okay, with Adam Sandler. That phrase right there probably turns everybody off, right? It's a serious role.
Okay.
It's not a comedy, but it's funny in its own little way. It's more of like a drama thriller movie.
Does he do the cock and balls voice?
He doesn't do any Adam Sandler stuff.
What's your cock and balls?
None of that.
Cock and balls. Remember that tape?
I do remember that
it's
tape.
It's a fucking tape.
I had that tape. Yeah.
Oh my God. The funniest thing. I'm sorry, go on.
It's okay. that's like junior high school.
Playing with your cock and balls.
Uncut Gems is a wonderful movie. It is so stressful from the moment it starts to the moment it ends. You're always like on the edge of your seat. Kevin Garnett, the basketball player from the Celtics, is in it. Like he plays a major role. Like he's a co-star in the movie, and he's wonderful. Like he does it. I imagine people out there have seen like movies with sports stars in them, and you can tell they are not an actor. Like they're just saying their lines. But he was like
Shazam.
He was in it. Shazam. Shaq. Wait.
In Space Jam.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's awesome. How many 5 stars? You saw it 4 times. That must be 5 stars for you.
It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. It's just so the writers and directors of the movie, the Safdie brothers, they did this other movie called Good Time, starring Robert Pattinson.
Love Robert Pattinson.
Apparently, so I didn't watch it yet.
Team Edward.
He's in this movie. The Safdie brothers wrote and directed this other movie, so it's the same kind of vibe, like a really kind of serious, like thrilling movie. A lot of not action like Michael Bay action, but like lots of things are happening that keep you invested in the movie. So highly suggest that. I tried to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I made a comment on Twitter that it is probably one of the most boring movies I've ever tried to sit through.
I saw that. I was confused.
Did you see the whole thing? Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, in the theater. Loved it. Don't you know the history of it though?
Yes. And then I was like waiting, so an hour into the movie, I'm like, when is something gonna freaking happen? Like, I can't do this anymore.
It's the payoff, it gives you the biggest payoff at the end.
I did the thing that I don't like doing, and I read...
well, there you go!
No, after the fact, after I was an hour into the movie, I'm like, alright, what the F happens that's gonna pay off? And then everybody's like, the last 15 minutes of the movie. I'm like, I don't want to sit around for an hour and 45 minutes.
Wait a second.
To watch 15 minutes of a movie.
Wait a second. You're watching the movie. You're an hour in, and then you look up the spoiler?
Yeah.
Before...
because it was that bad, in my opinion. In my opinion, I know everybody's like, "Oh my God, it was Tarantino's masterpiece." Blah blah blah. It was so.
You spoiled it for yourself.
I did, and oh well. Like I'm like, you know, and I didn't even fast forward to the end. Like at that point when I like knew what the movie was gonna happen, I could have fast forwarded to the end for the payoff. Didn't even bother. I was like, I don't care.
You didn't even watch it?
So I still need to do that.
Even knowing Quentin is the master of violence?
Yep. I was over it at that point. I was like, you know what? F it. So.
Oh my God.
So I watched that movie, and okay, I'll go back and watch.
The violence is hilarious.
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard.
So satisfying.
Yeah.
And what about the fight? What about the fight with Bruce Lee? Did nothing for you. That's a setup for the end. Okay.
All right. Now that I know,
I'll give you one spoiler if anyone listening. You know, Brad Pitt gets in a fight with Bruce Lee, and Brad Pitt wins the fight. But it's the most believable, one of the most believable on-screen fights I've ever seen, and at the end you get a lot of that. Very convincing. Like I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'll have to go back and watch because I was not sold. I'm a fan of Quentin Tarantino's movies. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. I've seen them all.
Yeah.
Enjoyed every one of them. This was just like sit somewhere and watch something for an hour with my brain that needs because this happens to me with new TV series, with movies. If something's not happening in the first 15 minutes, I'm done. I tried watching the day.
What's the soup du jour? Damn, I ruined it.
So it's like it's the soup du jour.
What's the soup du jour? It's the soup of the day.
Yeah, so that was Once Upon a Time, and I'll go back and watch it. I also tried to start watching. What's that movie? The Lighthouse. Did you see The Lighthouse?
No, that wasn't been on my list.
Started watching it. I guess I wasn't in the right mood for it because I really want to watch it, and the copy that I was watching was kind of green. It is in black and white, and it's very dark, and there's a lot of shadows and stuff.
Extremely time accurate. It's like a timepiece.
Like a very timey and very the language and stuff, and the vibe of the movie in the beginning seemed really cool. I really liked where it was going. But I think it was 1:30 in the morning, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm in the right headspace. And also, like I was saying, the copy that I watched was a little grainy. Like it was a streamed copy, and it wasn't high definition, and it was really hard to see things, you know. And there's I went and read about it. I was like, okay. When I watch movies nowadays, either I'll see it without knowing anything going into it, watch it, and then I'll go and read the Reddit subreddit of movies where they do a discussion, and then I'll find that movie and I'll read what other people have to say, and all the time I'll miss something. And then so I started watching The Lighthouse. I was like, I'm not in the mindset to watch the whole thing, but let me go see what people say about it, and I'll mentally try to avoid spoilers and stuff. And a couple of the main points were like things that happen in the movie that are really interesting, the way that they're done, and the descent into the. You speaking French?
That's I took a.
What did you say to me?
I took a class in
college.
college.
Coucher avec moi?
No, it's the. It's the stuff, the settings.
It's the stuff.
It's the culture of the movie.
Gotcha. And that's what I was really interested in, because I know it's a really time sensitive.
I usually like everything I see. But there was a movie, I always check the Rotten Tomatoes. Birds of Prey got super high. It was 80.
Did it really?
Oh yeah. It was
I heard people were not into that.
Unbelievable. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's 90.
No way.
Yeah.
No.
Critic versus audience. It was 90-90. So I'm like, oh, this is surprising. Yeah, but I guess let's try it. Hated it.
Did you?
So dumb. It was so boring.
78% right now.
What's the audience versus critic? What's the critic? It starts with critic on the left and then audience on the right.
Oh, it's different. It's on a different page. I don't know. In theaters. Oh no, I don't know. Oh, here it is, 78%. Top box office, 78%. 78. Sonic the Hedgehog.
People liked it. You know what? The crowd was laughing a lot, and they're laughing, and I'm like, I don't get it. I'm like,
So
really?
the audience score is 79, tomato meter 78. So I mean that's not awful.
Right.
But
sounds decent,
yeah.
but it was dumb. The villains sucked. It was completely predictable.
Yeah.
The jokes all fell flat with me.
I never the DC universe, and especially like Harley Quinn and stuff, is just like I have zero interest in it at all.
Did you see Joker? I did not.
Yes, that was the other one I finally watched. I finally watched it.
People are telling me they cried during it.
It's such a good movie as far as a movie goes. As far as a origin story.
Is Batman in it at all? Do you ever see Batman or a hint of Batman in it?
Do you want me to spoil it for you?
That's all I need to hear. Don't say anything else.
Well, my answer is not what you expect it to be.
Okay.
Do you want me to spoil it for you?
No.
I mean, it's been out for so long.
I haven't seen it, but I really want to see it.
Yeah.
I've watched it like from behind because it's on the plane right now. And
so you see like little pieces here and there.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, this looks good.
I mean, so Joaquin Phoenix, the acting is great.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The story is great. I mean, for it being an origin story, because sometimes you actually lose sight of the fact that it's like their take on an origin story of this villain who is a sociopath. You know what I mean? Like he's a very, very bad person, and then just continues on being that way. It's violent. It's very, very, very like shockingly violent at times. But it's one of those movies where you sympathize with the main character, who's an awful human, but you sympathize because of the things that they're trying to do within their life. They're trying to get better. They're trying to have relationships. They're trying. But in the end, you have to recognize the fact that they're also doing these awful things. So that is where, like, I always think a movie is that much better when you can feel sympathy for the antagonist. You know, like when you're like, oh man, like the TV show You. Did you watch You?
No.
The TV show You. This guy is the most awful human, and you find yourself like, oh, poor guy. Oh, let me. You know, it's crazy, and that's what makes a good film, TV show, whatever, is when you can actually feel emotion for something that you shouldn't be feeling emotion for. So, yeah. So Joker's great, and then I also watched. I've been trying to just catch up because I've been able to. So I use this app on not my Apple TV, my Amazon Firebox. It's called Kodi, Kodi, or Kodi. I don't know really how it's pronounced.
Okay.
And it's like this system that like finds streamable movies that people like store online, and it's kind of like what like Pirate Bay used to be.
Pirate Bay, yeah.
Yeah. So
I never got into it. But.
Yeah, so it's like that, but like it's like an interface.
I was too afraid to get in trouble.
Yeah, me too. I got a couple letters actually when I used to use Pirate Bay. I got from Verizon when I had Verizon. They were like, "We noticed that you've been downloading. If you do that again, we'll shut off your." I was like, "Oh, I'll keep doing it." So they never did anything, but yeah, so it's like that kind of service, but it's actually like you can find a movie, you can click it and you just play, and then you can find a version of it or whatever. So that's what I've been using. So that's why I was able to see a couple of these movies. And I also, before we're done, because I know we're getting long, I just wanted to talk about a couple of movies. You know Bikram, like Bikram Yoga? Bikram
Yoga. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you see that there's a documentary on Bikram on Netflix?
Yes.
Did you watch it?
I did watch some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude's a scumbag.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy that it's like a worldwide cult of this yoga that was quote unquote developed by this man who is an egomaniac creep. I highly suggest watching it because you will be enlightened to the truth about. I mean, this is a biased documentary, obviously, because it does not put him.
Well, it's about gurus too, and it's about know putting your faith in the wrong person.
Right. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I mean, there's women who were victimized by him, and he's a man of power, you know, and he takes advantage of that. And the documentary is definitely weighted in the making him look bad, but I mean, He is bad. He
bad.
really
Yeah.
is. So I found it really fascinating because all I knew about Bikram yoga was that it was a thing, and then it was a dude. I didn't know any of the bad stuff. I had no clue that there was any allegations or any lawsuits or anything.
Yeah.
And then watching it, I was like, oh wow, well screw that. He's gross. He's gross. He's a gross person. So
there's another kind of yoga, bhakti.
Yeah.
It's not Bikram, bhakti.
Bhakti.
And I would recommend that.
Yeah. You do that?
I know it's on the horizon for me.
I want to do yoga too. I want to do yoga so bad.
But I'm gonna be the person who goes on these retreats and stuff.
I'm gonna go. Are you gonna tree pose somewhere like this?
I'm gonna try.
Do it. There you go. Tree pose.
I'm gonna try.
Warrior.
I'll be going on some yoga retreats. Fuck yeah.
Lotus.
Lotus.
Black lotus pose. All right. Well,
I'll look if I can do this pose.
This has been the Mythic Legendaries podcast, episode number 34.
Thanks so much for joining us. Please tell a friend.
Spread the word. Tell a friend. Join our Discord. Follow our Twitter. Spread the word is really what we're looking for. Spread the word. If you download our podcast, leave a review, leave a star rating, whatever it is. We're just trying to spread the word a little bit more. We both have tried. We're attempting to stream every once in a while, and just getting on our schedule is hard for both of us because we're both busy people. But we both are streaming. We both have Twitch channels. Join it, find it. If you see us on, come say hi, come watch, whatever it is. In the Discord too, it's easy for us to stream in Discord if you want to just watch us play. Just spread the word. You know, if you like what we have to say, I'm sure one of the people that you associate with might also, and that will just, snowball from there. So we appreciate it.
It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
If we really appreciate you listening. We hope you come back for episode 35.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, if they're not 5 stars, make sure to email Mox and she'll sort things out for you.
Email me at mythiclegendaries@gmail.com. Anything less than 4 stars, just let me know, and we'll sort you out.
Awesome.
My girl belongs to the Titans.
Have a good week. Cool. Thing, and then it was a dude. Cool. File, C, project. All right.
Cool beans.
There we go. Cool beans.
I had half a thought that fizzled. I can't remember what I had something I wanted to tell you. What was it?